Welcome back into Talkin Dynasty. That's right. It's the show with myself, Garrett Price, my main squeeze, Jared Wackerly, looking as fine as ever. How you doing, buddy?
Pretty good. How about you?
I'm doing good, buddy. And we've got a really, really awesome show planned for
My
today.
Favorite.
I love this arena, this discussion, and we've brought in an expert, a true expert from NBC Sports to talk about this with us. It's Eric Froton, and we're going to be talking college football, Devy, all kinds of good stuff. Eric, how you doing?
I'm doing great, guys. And while Jared may be your main squeeze, I'd like to apply for at least the second position, right?
Hey, side piece is definitely available.
Exactly what I'm going for. I have no problem being side piece. I mean, Jared is a
Hey, there you go.
He deserves
As long as everyone knows their role.
Spot, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we've got so much to get into, so much to talk about. We had a blast just talking 15 minutes before the show even started, but so many good things to discuss. But just a reminder for everybody out there, this is on the main Dynasty Nerds feed. And if you're like, I thought I was tuning into a Dynasty Nerds podcast, you said this is Talking Dynasty. Yes, we married this all together. This is probably, third or fourth one we've done on the feed, Jared?
Something like that. Yeah, it's our 11th episode total. But
okay.
I think as far as being on the feed, I think it's like third.
Yeah, something like that. So what we like to do on this episode is on the main Dynasty Nerd show, we do a lot of player discussion. We like player A. We don't like player B. Here's why. Some good analysis around it. Here on Talking Dynasty, overall, and obviously there'll be times where we talk specific players and whatnot, but overall we really like to talk about the game theory behind Dynasty Fantasy Football, why you do what you do, how to think about the game maybe in different ways than you have before. And that's why I think it's so important to bring guys like Eric on to kind of give us another layer, to help you get that edge on your opponents. And I think if you fall in love with Devy, if you fall in love with college fantasy football, we're thrilled. That means we did our job. But even if you just say, I'm just a Dynasty guy, but man, those are some helpful things to know and to be aware for the future, then hey, we're good with that as well. So Jared, anything that you want to kind of preface before we pick Eric's brain and we make him tell us all the secrets of Dynasty and Devy fantasy football?
Well, I do want to say, we're going to talk about the 2025 class, strengths and weaknesses, like what position groups we think are going to be more strong than others, and we might even get into a little bit of the 2026 class because it's important to stay ahead of your league mates. It's important for team building in your trade decisions. You know, what draft pick should you be after right now? Is it going to be a deeper draft? Is it going to be a more shallow draft? Things like that are super important to know. And the majority of you listening, I'm assuming most of your league mates probably aren't as diehard as you, and they probably not listen to the show. But if they're not, feel free to share. We like that too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But you're ahead of the game. So staying ahead of these draft classes is super important when you're playing Dynasty. There is no off season. And we will have a special announcement at the end of the show. So make sure you guys stay through the entire thing so that you give yourself a shot to be a part of, well, I'm not going to tell you yet. So
whatever's happening, we don't know. We know.
Yeah.
We absolutely know.
We'll see.
All right, Eric. Well, let's get into it. Give us a quick introduction. If somebody listening they've only played Dynasty Fantasy Football before, and maybe they're even new to it, because that's a step up from guys that just do DFS or regular redraft leagues or things like that. So this is a step up for them. And now we're saying, hey, we want to introduce you to stuff like Devy and college fantasy football. Why is it important for these guys to be aware of these upcoming classes, these future players? Why is it important for regular Devy guys to know this?
Well,
or Dynasty guys, I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. First off, no hate from me on the Dynasty community. I have nothing but love and reverence for them, and I'm one of you. I like long form content and being able to project out, and I don't like just one season sprint and it's done. I like building. And, the type of people who like Dynasty, who like Devy, who like C2C leagues, they're the ones who read Lord of the Rings instead of watch the movies. They're the ones who go through the Game of Thrones, and they're going through the books, and they want every house that they're talking, every sigil, every, different region, they want to know all about it. And that is kind of who we are on the inside. We are the ones who want to do what needs to be done. We want to be deep, and as deep as we can get. And I think that ethos really translates well to C2C and Devy for Dynasty, because you're not going to get any worse at projecting, who you're going to take in your Dynasty leagues. In fact, it's impossible to get worse. You're only going to get better, because if you're getting into Devy, which is, the nice soft
entry level
C2C, it's the entry level to the Campus Canton college fantasy football, right? That's great, because just starting the Devy is going to give you the motivation to look into beyond the now and look into what is coming. For instance, the 2024 class, a lot of people, fairly could project that there would be some decent QBs and there would be some very, very talented wide receivers. So having those two core positions that if you're starting your Dynasty League and you need to build, those are the two you're starting at. Those are the baselines. So being able to project who is coming in the upcoming classes, profiting from your advanced work, which is, and one of the true great principles of gambling, any sort of sports gambling that you look to get into, any sort of markets, right? You want to find something that nobody else knows and then profit from it, right? And I'll give you an example of how that's potent in Devy and C2C. Last year, okay, and with quarterbacks, we know how variable that position is in the lower levels of college. We don't know. For every Caleb Williams, most of the guys are Jaden Daniels. 4 years quarterback, had very little NFL buzz heading into 2024. Lit the world on fire last season, set an SEC record for most explosive plays. So there's a lot of, jockeying and positioning that's going to happen. But when you have the baseline of these freshman classes, the sophomores, by the time they come to that junior year where they're eligible, it's going to be old hat. You're going to know exactly what to expect, and it's just a matter of using your eyes to evaluate. It takes so much off of your plate and puts you way ahead of the game on all the people you'll be competing with in Dynasty.
And especially for people that play like multiple leagues, like if you add just one Devy league and you have, that the whole economy of that league is much different because everyone has college assets, and you're paying attention to these sophomore wide receivers that when you're just in your regular Dynasty league, you might not be paying attention to, even though you should be, but you're going to be paying attention to them a lot more. So like you said earlier, it just makes you a better Dynasty player when you do add a Devy, or if you get a little deeper a C2C or CFF league. So I agree with you there for sure.
Certainly.
Yeah, so let's get into the upcoming draft classes then. Let's look ahead. We just finished up with 2024. We had, when you look at the first two rounds of your Dynasty leagues outside of the running back position, everywhere else, it's a very, very deep class. So it was an exciting one. What should we be expecting on some of these upcoming classes? So let's start with 2025. What do we know about the class right now? Where is it looking a little strong? Where is it looking a little deep? Or where is it looking a little weak? Where is it deeper? Where is it shallower? Like, what are we looking at for 25?
Yeah, well, it is definitely a better running back class. And the good thing is you can quantify how much better it is by just looking at the missed tackles forced over the course of last season. When you're looking at the most MTFs of this running back class of 2023, 11 of the top forced missed tackle running backs are returning this year from last year. When you're talking about yards after contact, again, it's a similar ratio. It's about 65% of that top 20 is back. These are important performance metrics for running backs going to the NFL. How well do you avoid tackles? How well do you go through tackles? It's one of those benchmarks. And when you look at that and just understand that the best running backs in college are still in college from last year, then I would confidently say that I do like this 2025 Devy running back class, and frankly, it's like there's about 14. I got 14 that I think are right there in the top 2 tiers. There's tier 1 and there's tier 2. And there's a lot of talent there. And it's big talent, too. It's the 210 plus backs. Trevion,
Wow.
Nicholas Singleton, Quinshawn Judkins, Travis Etienne's brother, Trevor Etienne. Obviously, Ollie Gordon, who's 6'1.5", and he's 220. Long strider, too. You got some beef. Damian Martinez, throw him in there. Raheem Sanders. A lot of bigger backs that were very productive in terms of their ability to create yardage. So I'm very, very excited about the running back class. With the wide receivers, you got the top, and it's strong. Luther Burden, Tedoroa McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Evan Stewart. I feel great about all of them. Evan Stewart's maybe a little tick down, but if you look at a lot of the C2C and the Devy ranks from a lot of the around the internet, you see Stewart is right there in that top 3, despite a lack of production the last 2 years at Texas A&M due to attrition at the quarterback position. They'll be much better with Connor Wegman this year. But even that second tier of wide receivers, Isaiah Boyd going over to Texas, from Alabama, he looked phenomenal. Nick Anderson from Oklahoma comes in and catches 10 touchdowns last year. Looked great. And then Travis Hunter, obviously we all know about him. Is he going to be cornerback, wide receiver? So there was a little bit of conjecture in that. But with the way that the wide receiver position in general has become more and more important at the NFL and at the college level, I'm usually not too worried about the talent that will emerge from the wide receiver classes, because we're going to have a lot of tape. We're going to have a lot of usage to be able to say, all right, well, what happened here? We'll find somebody at the wideouts. There's already a nice top, good solid 10 guys that I feel good about. It's quarterback. Quarterback's the position for 2024. And I mean 2025, excuse me. And I think it's because we saw such a good class this year. We didn't have that in the Kenny Pickett class. Let's be honest.
No,
we've had some duds. And the key is deciphering, how hard do you go in, especially from a Devy level, on this quarterback class. Personally, heading into last year, heading into 2024, the 2025 Devy ranks look completely different than they do right now. Completely different. And that's because Cade Klubnik was the number 1 QB out of this class. Catastrophe.
Oh, wow.
Rich kid. Doesn't have control of the room. Is kind of coddled by Dabo. I'm out. I mean, I'm hard out on him. I went to 10 games last year in terms of being able to go and attend them in person on the sidelines, and I've seen a lot of these guys anyways. That's a hard no. But where you really can make money, really change your prospects of your entire team, and that's heading up to the NFL, is hitting on a low threshold QB that sort of emerges and becomes something. And I'll use a apples to apples comparison from last year. All right, Carson Beck, Georgia, 2020 recruit, sits for 3 years behind Stetson Bennett. Gets over-recruited twice with 2 5-star QBs in Brock Vandegrift, now at Kentucky, and Gunnar Stockton, who's his backup, right? Over-recruited 2 5-stars. He's a stock and trade 4-star at Georgia. It's not a fun place to be. He wins that job. He has the job wasn't given to him until August, but if you watched the spring game and you saw the command that after 3 years Carson Beck displayed, he out of the gate looked better than Stetson Bennett right out of the gate. I could tell immediately this kid he's a different type of a cat. He's not 5'10", $185 like Bennett. He's a legit 6'5", 225, and he surveys the field. He's going through progressions. Everything's on a line. It's the right read. Everything he went through is you're looking at it and saying, oh my God, this is it. This is the guy. Every C2C league I have 4 of them. I own him in all of them. He wasn't on any roster. 0.
Look at you.
In 4 C2C leagues that are the best, that have the best in the world for
Yeah.
the Sphere. None of them
Yeah.
took Carson Beck. I got him in the second round in the Invitational. The program, I got him in the 5th. And then I did a startup that I got him in the 12th. All right, off the top of my head.
Where you at in the program?
Priorities.
I didn't know you were in there.
Huh? The program.
What conference
C4.
you in the...
Where are you?
Oh,
You're
okay.
in C4
C2.
too, right? You're in C2.
C2.
I'm sorry. I'm in 4.
Yeah,
Where did he go in your league? I'm curious.
I don't remember. I got to look, but I don't have him.
But he was a supplemental pick. He wasn't on anybody's roster last year. This is the number 1 2025 QB right now, and it's not really debatable anymore. It just is. So
you think he's a top 5 pick next year if you had to project right now, like top 5 quarterback?
Oh, definitely. I've been in on Carson Beck. I'm in. I was the original adopter. I will take it. He's mine. And that's another thing. The beauty of Devy and C2C. Nobody is going to tell me that they were before me on Carson Beck. Because I will pull the receipts. And I will show
I feel you
where I drafted him. And he was on nobody's roster. So, like, that's the other thing. And we all see it in the Dynasty sphere, in every sphere. Everybody loves to brag about
You love to be first.
Come on.
That's
why
part
we
of
do
it, dude. Yeah.
You know? Nobody is going to tell you they were before you on any of these guys when you go and you do the research. You go down and you find the edges. And you can find edges in college that you won't be able to find once draft capital is assigned in Dynasty. We know it. Once you have draft capital assigned, then all the fish come out and they have a guidebook.
Easy.
You know? This is where you get paid off for your hard work. Devy and C2C.
Yeah, that's the reason we put out we put out a yearly nerd score, we call it, but it's a tape evaluation score Garrett and I do. And we release all of our scores prior to the draft because once the draft happens, you know, you don't want that bias factoring in, and we want to see if we're actually good or not at doing this. So, no, I'm right there with you.
My opinion is we should have every single draft, supplemental Dynasty draft should be before the NFL draft. That's how I love that.
I don't
Now
have
you
a
find
league like
out
that
who's
yet, but I want to. Yeah, for sure. So, I mean, amongst these quarterbacks is the hottest topic amongst this 2025 class, and especially like going into Dynasty next year because the deeper the quarterback class is, the deeper the entire draft is for Superflex leagues. It just pushes the value of running backs and wide receivers down because of the value of quarterback. You want to take those first-round picks early and often. So, in this 2025 class, I went and looked at your mock draft that you put out, I think at the end of April or early May, and I think you had 4 quarterbacks in the first round. Do you still feel that way? Maybe you can share where you had each guy, or if you even remember where you put them. Like just overall thoughts on the quarterback class from first round pick standpoint.
Sure. For that draft, I had 4, but frankly, I wanted one more. I wanted to put one more in that I just couldn't. But I
I'd love to hear
have a fit for. But I have 5 guys that I think, you know, I look at and say, all right, I can reasonably project right now. I think they'll be first rounders. And one guy that I have guilt about. I have a real hard time with Shedeur Sanders and placing him.
It's polarizing. I mean,
real half time.
You draft him knowing he's kind of like Tebow or Manziel, just in a different light, obviously, but you draft him knowing the circus is coming to town.
Sure do.
And I think that's going to put a lot of teams off.
And, like, how much film study are we getting? You know, like, this is the cerebral position. And I'm not saying, you know, who cares about I don't care about the scores and intelligence, but, like, just, are you putting in the time? You got to do it. There's no way around it at QB. You have to see what's happening. There's 11 players on defense that are constantly shifting and throwing different things at you. You have to be prepared, you know? And that scares me, you know, where it's, like you said, it's the circus coming to town. It's like, what? I don't know. I'm not in that room. Is he doing the work, you know? And if you've looked at the second half of Colorado, yeah, it was all fun and games in the first half. Then Dion goes and makes a reactionary move by taking Sean Lewis out of play caller duties. That's insane. And the team's productivity went down as a result. They couldn't block anybody on the offensive line. It was a jailbreak every time. And it was just madness. So they did revamp that offensive line in Colorado, but, what are we going to get? I think he's the great wild card.
Yeah.
The player I want to put in that I believe in, I think is, definitely outside of that first round talk, but I want to see him there. Jackson Dart, Ole Miss. I'm ready for Ole Miss this year. I'm ready for it. I want it. I want the Washington season out of Ole Miss this year. Because they went and the needs that they had, they addressed in the portal. Quinshon Judkins, who is, we'll be talking about 2025 Devy RB's malcontent. They literally had to run, they ran himself out of town. In the final game of the season, Jackson Dart goes over to Lane Kiffin and literally begs him. You see him up and going, take him out of the game. He was totally unreliable. They're dialed in now. Everybody's on the same page. You got Trey Harris back from last year. I am ready for Ole Miss. And Jackson Dart in year 4, after coming in, ran for 1,000 yards in high school as a senior. It has the true dual threat profile, but can throw. I hate solo threat QBs, and we get sold on them all the time in college. Guys who can run, but they can't throw. And that's not Jalen Hurts. And it's a shame because Jalen Hurts wasn't that. He got labeled that.
Another Jalen, though.
But another Jalen. And that's how I feel. Is I love me some Jackson Dart. I think he will be ascending. Connor Wegman is another first-round quarterback that I believe in. We haven't had the amount of tape, but God damn, his first 3 games last year, bonus baby, 5-star prospect, looked great in spring, looked great in his 3 games, watch Miami, and then he got hurt. I still think it's there. And then Quinn Ewers, if he could use the channel, like his footwork, his lower half, he's almost cursed by the big arm syndrome, where he can buzz a 15-yard field side out. He can hum that. But you watch his footwork, and it's almost like with Drake May. It's almost his arm is so good, where he can do things to keep his balance and be a little bit more fundamental and mechanical. But then there's the arch factor. I don't know if you guys had the opportunity of watching the Texas spring game, but
I didn't, but I've heard
he's here.
He's nipping at his heel at Quinn's heels. I hear.
Oh, it's on. Oh, guys, it was real, and that's a problem, especially from a C2C standpoint. What do? You're gonna bank your college season on starting Quinn Ewers every week? The games that they're winning big, he's gone in the third quarter. It's a fantasy conundrum. It's a situation with him, but the raw arm talent is there. So that's another, like him and Shador. Beck, Dart, Wegman feel great about. Ewers and Shador, that's where you start getting iffy. And then you bump down to Drew Aller of Penn State, like very slow in his processing, very mechanical. I'd like to see him speed that up, but his arm is good. But real, dark horse. I like Noose. Garrett Nussmeier, son of former Dallas Cowboys legend, using that term loosely. Garrett Nussmeier, and Doug Nussmeier is his dad. But Garrett looked great in the time that he had. Not his fault that number 2 overall selection, Jaden Daniels, just simply looked incredible. And now he has the time. It's his turn to come in and assume that. One more, Riley Leonard. You got to respect him going over there to Notre Dame after getting injured for Duke. And total dark horse, man.
Hell of an athlete, though.
Hell of an athlete. I like Riley Leonard. I like a lot of what he has. And working with what he will be in Notre Dame, more pro-style offense, we'll get a good read on him. Dark horse that I just can't help but love. I love Cam Rising. His pocket presence. Like him he owns it. He owns that offense. I just like seeing guys who just exude confidence, exude, competence. They know exactly what's supposed to be done. He's running the show. I love the general aspect of him. And I think he could slide in maybe 3rd round and just have that Garner Minshew come in and take some team by storm, sort of a skill set. I could see it happening with him.
So do we have any tight ends in this 2025 class that are, we don't have a Brock Bowers. We don't have a Kyle Pitts really in this class, in my opinion. There could be someone that emerges, but who are some of the names that could possibly garner early day 2 capital or maybe even first round if you think. What are your thoughts on the tight end class?
I got 6 favorites. And
6.
And then there's a good, solid, nice list of 13, that are vying to come up. But first out, you look at Colston Loveland for Michigan. He's got it all.
Love him, dude.
Got it all. I really like everything about him. AJ, sorry, his name escapes me.
Barner?
Barner, sorry, yeah. Comes in from Indiana and is a really good, dependable, tight end. Even he couldn't. I mean, Colson Loveland, even his second year, as a true sophomore, he was holding them off pretty substantially. I love Jake Brenningstool for Clemson. Super athlete. You look at him. I had the pleasure of going to a Clemson game, seeing UNC Clemson, and getting a chance to see Brenningstool, and also be around him a little bit because I have friends in the program, and I like a lot about the frame, the incredible catch radius.
He has high pedigree, right? He was a high pedigree recruit, wasn't he?
Sure, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Very, very high on him. Luke Lachey and Tyler Warren from Penn State and Iowa. Look, you want to be shopping in the Big Ten for your tight ends, and you want to be shopping at Iowa and Penn State.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. Penn State. I mean, Tyler Warren, Theo Johnson this past year, 98th percentile athlete. He was awesome. And frankly, he was 50-50 right there with Tyler Warren. They were a straight 50-50 deal, and Warren was arguably more productive than Johnson. And he's obviously a very trendy guy right now in dynasty circles because he went to the Giants. He's gonna be able to get a look, as he holds off Bellinger, who I like, San Diego State represent. Yeah. And then, actually, I call it 7. Oscar Delp, Georgia.
Okay.
Definitely has to be respected. Coming right into that Bryce Bowers role. They bring in Benjamin Urosek from Stanford, and I'm not even concerned about Urosek. He's not one of my guys. I'm more Oscar Delp than I am Urosek. And then lastly, who's my favorite dark horse tight end. I don't know if I call him a dark horse, but I mean, the rankings, he's being disrespected. Mitchell Evans, Notre Dame.
Oh,
he got hurt last year.
I haven't even heard that name.
Yeah, of course, but it's no big deal. He got hurt. Okay,
that's why you're here.
Half a season, got hurt. But you go and you watch him against Ohio State. You watch what he was doing in that time frame. You watch what he did on a per play basis. His yards per route were outstanding. His athletic bona fides. You look what happened after he got injured. Holden Stays comes in. He was okay, but it was night and day what you're watching in terms of productivity from the tight end position at a Cadillac tight end, another institution that just breeds them.
Yeah.
At Notre Dame. So I'm frankly shocked at how Mitchell Evans has been just completely ignored, and he was, on a per play basis, he was better than anybody in this class. So that's somebody that I would look at down the road. You want to be aware of.
So this might be a pretty deep tight end class, and I mean, you say the 3 to 4 first round quarterbacks possibly, and I mean, there's always guys that emerge that that we don't even really know about yet, which is the beauty of this thing. So I mean, some people believe the 2025 class isn't going to be that great, but if things come to fruition as we're talking about them right now, then I think the 2025 class is going to be another really good one. So just to go back into the wide receivers a little bit, there is some debate between Luther Burden and Tet McMillan from Arizona. Who is your wide receiver 1 out of those two, and why?
And I mean, that's legitimate too. It's tough because they're two different types of receivers too.
For sure,
I mean,
completely different.
It's an apples and oranges comparison. It's the true X, Teteroa McMillan, Ted, the true X, the standard. You look at Drake London, you look at that potential, that frame, the Mike Evans.
Yeah, 6'5".
That's what you're getting out of Ted. And having watched, I watched every reception he had last year. I was lucky enough to be at a game. I saw him at one of his games, and I'll tell you, he runs those bounce routes pretty freaking well. Where he goes, he'll be faking the slant, boom, plant, break to the outside, and like that's a tough route for long guys. You know,
Yeah.
those long, you got to get those legs churning again. He does those pretty damn well. You watch on his tape last year, he rips off about 5 or 6 of them. You know, it's in a manufactured play, and he did well with all of those because he's tough to corral too. You know, he's long. He's got long. His catch radius is outstanding. I mean, it's as big as it gets.
He's huge.
You don't get much bigger, frankly.
No.
And then, but he's fluid, and he's not too unwieldy with his frame. You don't want to be too big. Like, you don't want to do the David Boston thing where he got all jacked up. I'm going to be the best receiver. It's like,
I feel like he's more fluid than Mike Evans was even.
I think it's
level.
absolutely the hips, the flexibility. You know, his ability to weave. I really like Tet. You know, I really like him. And then as a deep threat, like, you got to be a deep threat if you're a big guy like that. You know, you can only do so much of the turner. You know, you got a guy 7 yards off you. You turn square, catch the ball, throw his face in the dirt, and then get 10 yards. Like, you can do that. You can't do it all the time. Tet, 13 of 28 deep recs, 46% deep catch rate, is the best in the Power 5 last year among returnees. So the best in this class, 21.5% of his targets are downfield. So, you know, almost 1 out of every 4, 1 out of every 5, had a 95th percentile PFF grade to all 3 of the top levels, because he's not getting anything behind the, like, why would you throw a behind the
screen pass? Yeah.
Why? So, just all of that, it's all there. You know, it's all there, all the talent. I believe it. But then at the same time, like, I don't want to make it seem like I'm slighting Luther Burden. You know, I mean, 82
different
of
player.
120. You know, 72% catch rate. He's getting force fed. Everybody's all over him. I mean, they're keying on him the whole time. Everybody knows where it's going. Still, 3.3 yards per route. That's astounding. Phenomenal.
Yeah.
8.5 yards after catch. If you're over 7 in college, you're a god. You know, I mean, 8.5.
Yeah.
Phenomenal. Would be the best in the 2024 class for Yak.
And he is more in that Debo Samuel mold when you look at size. He's got what listed at 5'11", got that 210,
He's put
so
together.
he's like a little thicker.
Definitely.
Garrett, you love Luther Burden, dude. Didn't I steal him from you in the program when you recruited him?
Thanks for rubbing that in. Appreciate it. I do. I have quite a
Tet,
few.
I have Tet and Burden in that.
Dude. Oh,
Man, that's pretty
I'm
nice.
glad I'm not in C2. Oh, my God. That's awesome.
That's pretty nice.
Well played.
Let me get back to the running backs real quick, because you made a comment, and I want to compare it to this year's class just so we have a little bit more context to go with it. You mentioned how you have about 14 guys that you would have in your tier 1 or your tier 2 from this year's 2025 class, correct?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I mean,
looking at the
that's in
2024 class.
The group of, you know, I think these guys are potential second round, you know, day 2 draft capital group is kind of how I look at it.
So how many did you have from this year's class? 5, 6? Like, how many guys did you have in this year's class that would be in that same top 2 tiers?
I don't quite recall preseason what it looked like.
Sure.
Yeah.
But, you know, as soon as the season ended, I had 4 guys. I had 4 guys that I had, and it was the same 4 guys that ended up coming out and being the top 4. It was Jalen Wright, who I absolutely adored last year. It is one of the true jokes of college football last year was the Tennessee running back room, where for some reason Jabari Small was getting drafted ahead of Jalen Wright. And it's like, what is going on?
Jalen Wright Stan over here.
Oh, God.
It's true, you are.
What is going on, Josh Heupel, head coach? Why are you Bottom line is,
That was
Jabari
weird.
Small was just a short yardage, first 2 down back with no explosiveness whatsoever, and that cannot stand in the SEC. And it wasn't going to stand, and it didn't. So Jalen Wright absolutely earned that. Marshawn Lloyd, a guy who double knee as a freshman, didn't do much. Like, that South Carolina rotation just suppressed all his ability to really break out, even though he had a really good 3rd year before he transferred to USC. I think he goes to USC and leads the country in yards per reception, 7 yards per carry, and you know, having looked at him and you look at the frame, it's all there. Incredible athlete, incredible tester after a double knee. I was there with him. definitely had to give it to Brooks, obviously, and Trey Benson. He was my guy preseason that I just adored, and again, another guy, elite tackle breaker and yards after contact guy at 220, running a 4.38, 4.39.
Did you have Corum up there?
He was my 5, but dude, he's not a long strider. He's not a home run hitter. Like the breakaway yards, you're not going to get those. Short, choppy steps, small, jacked, rocked up, incredible between the tackles. Just like he can just ferret his way through. He just squeezes through and he's
his way through.
Good lateral movements and like he's crafty. He's a technician type. But
that just tells you, though. I mean,
total package, he ain't.
5. Yeah. You had like 5 maybe preseason.
Yeah, you said
then
4.
going into this year.
4
to
4
14
this season, for this class.
And that's
4.
That's
that was my
guys that could be Day 2 capital at the least. So, I mean, that just tells you 14 going into this class. And Garrett, I was like messaging with you about this, but this year, if you are entering into a startup like now, a dynasty startup, like this year is a perfect year to do like a rebuild strategy or
productive struggle.
Productive struggle. Yeah, like there's quarterback and there's wide receiver in this current class. And then next year, you can really try to hit on those running backs that are going to be coming in and some wide receivers. So, I mean, if you want to do a productive struggle, I think right now is the perfect year to do that amongst your startups. And we'll actually be doing a show where Garrett kind of did something along those lines. But
a little unique, something a little different.
Yeah. But, I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Garrett?
Yeah, no, I think you're absolutely right. Hearing from Eric and, we had a lot of these same inclinations, and obviously Eric knows the class much better than we do. But just speaking in generalities, yeah, if you're going to go the more productive struggle route, and if you're not familiar with what we mean by productive struggle, it's in a startup as opposed to, trading up and getting a bunch of, Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb, and you're going to, take a bunch of guys and try to win now. You're kind of intentionally trying to build for the future, and you don't really care about your win total in year one. In fact, in year one, you want it to not be very good, so that way you can have a high draft pick with your pick in 2025. So all of that being said, you would probably trade out of the first few picks. You would acquire some 2025 draft capital. You would be looking more so at like rookies, second, third year players, more so than you would 7th, 8th, 9th year guys. So that's kind of the concept of it. And you're right, Jared. I think this would be a good time to do that because typically in our dynasty leagues, running back's the last piece that we add to the puzzle. You can add that in the 25 class.
Yeah,
exactly.
And if that's certainly one way to look at for the productive struggle, the initial first year teams. But gosh, if you're a team, I think this draft will be productive for teams that, like you said, use that 2024 to hit the key positions, get a QB, grab one of the many wideouts in round 2 that were available. They're pretty attractive, and round 3 too. Wasn't a lot of the tight ends. We had Brock, but then I like Sinnott, but man, I could see anything happen with Jatavian Sanders. I don't know what to expect with him. So you will have the ability to hit the last, those secondary pieces, to where you establish that foundation that you can build for 5 to 10 years around, where when you hit on a QB, he's there. You hit on a wide receiver, you're getting 7-10. You can fill in the last pieces, the tight ends, the running backs, where you can almost attack it with volume of just, if you have those extra seconds and those extra thirds, that's where you can be grabbing those running backs, because there's so many of them that. And they're going to be different teams in different stages of rebuilding. You can attack that, and I think that's probably for, the ones that are at the stage of, all right, now I have to hit the last missing pieces to be a contender for the next half decade. Running backs, tight ends. I think that's what this is going to be able to do for you in this draft. That's where you're going to be able to make the most money, I think.
So let's touch on the 2026 class just briefly, so we can get a little bit of of that class too, because those assets are obviously cheaper right now than 2025, but it's important, just like it is for 2025, to have some sort of idea for what that class may look like. I mean, we talked about Arch Manning earlier that he's nipping at the heels of Quinn Ewers, could take that job this season. Ewers is probably going to get a shot beginning of the year, but if they start struggling or he starts struggling, Arch could come in there. Who are some other quarterbacks? Because just looking around the internet and reading the way I do, and look, I played Devy and C2C too, so just following things as I normally would. It seems like that quarterback class has a lot more to give than the 2025 class. Like, what are your thoughts on it, Eric?
Oh, yeah, lots of steam in the 2026 QB class. As you mentioned, Arch Manning. I was fortunate enough over the past 3 years to go to the Elite 11 finals each of the past 3 years because they're in California, so I can drive right up from San Diego to Redondo Beach and check it out.
Nice.
I love Jackson Arnold.
Yeah.
He is, I mean, Arch obviously is like, it's like almost his own tier where like it's Arch Manning. But then, outside of a generational legacy, QB, Jackson Arnold's my guy. And if you watched him, in the bowl game and then again in the spring game, I mean, he's in command. He's dialed in. He's got it all. Deion Burks is there. He went and had 2 long touchdowns.
There you go.
Nick Anderson, who I mentioned, was injured, and now Jaleel Farouk could be back. Oh, what's that? Throw that up. Throw that up. What is that? Oh my gosh. That is a Jackson Arnold, Bowman University first, 10 out of 10 gold, 1 of 50.
Gold lava.
It just so happens here, Jared, I have a Jackson Arnold, orange, 1 of 25 autograph, Bowman University.
Let's go.
We are
That's
both
great.
on the same team here with
Yeah,
the
we
Jackson Arnold Brigade, and deservedly so. This actually, I have 2. I have a orange shimmer and an orange flat auto.
Dude, I love it.
Of
I have
Jackson
so much
Arnold, and it's
Dante Moore as well.
great investment. If we're doing that, Tech Gold, 1 of 50.
Oh, I love it.
There you go. I have a whole set right back here. If you want to take a look,
And if you're just listening,
there's a
we're
whole
sharing
bunch of
our
them.
sports cards right now.
Yes. This
Yeah,
is
sorry, we're
sports card
talking
time.
Bowman University, and this is important, right? Because for the first time in collectibles, there is a licensing agreement between
Yes.
the NCAA, and the players, and a card company. It's Bowman. Before, you just had all these just random autographs. It didn't mean anything. It's standardized. And we've got
Yes.
3 sets out. We got the 4th coming out anytime now, frankly. And Jared is a savvy man. He's got a dime. That's the thing. He's got a gold 10. He's got a dime. Jackson Arnold. That's a big one. That's a big one. I will say this, Jared. What's your best card? What's your best flex of your cards? You got any reds?
I don't even know at the moment, actually. I'd have to go back into it.
That's a great
I keep an
card.
inventory system of all my cards. I have so many at this point where it's become a little bit of a problem that I don't know what my best card is at the moment. You put me on the spot, but I will get back to you on that
biggie.
as I think.
I
about
got 2 of my favorites. I've got 3 signature cards that are my favorites. Right, I'll just run through them. 1, Nick Singleton red auto, 1 of 5. Jackson Dart red auto, 1 of 5. And then lastly, Tetaroa McMillan red, 1 of 5 auto. Yeah, that got his attention.
I have dual auto Travis Hunter and Shador Sanders that I got graded, which is
Boom.
that one's sweet too. I
That's
guess I
a
got
nice
25.
one. But that isn't
yeah.
Bowman U, right? Would that be is that the
It was the next one.
Yes, got it.
the
Cool. Hey, dude, those
choice, I
combo
think?
autographs are something. Of course, it's like the
Yes.
the Bird Magic rookie back in the day, from
Yes.
1980, where they had them all in the same one.
Garrett's a card collector too.
It's true.
My brother.
true.
Well, come on, there's got to be an element of that. You want to profit from your takes, or
Oh yeah,
yeah.
exactly,
not
dude.
profit. But sorry for that aside, Dynasty community. I apologize.
No, that was my
Hey,
fault.
they understand. There's a lot
Hey,
of crossover.
I mean, it's all value, right? I mean, we're able to. They all have licensed product now, and if you're into college fantasy and Devy and stuff like we are, it's kind of like its own. I mean, I look to flip this stuff and buy early on guys, just like I do in fantasy. So
Oh yeah,
Absolutely.
And
it's fun.
bring it back to 2026 QBs. Dante Moore, gold auto, 1 of 50. There's
go.
another one you want to be
keep
aware
it
of. Okay. Got to have a little Dante Moore in your collection. Transferred from UCLA to Oregon. Like, had some... He was iffy, as a true freshman last year. But that's how it goes. They threw him into the deep end.
I'm going to get all mine ready for after the show to show you some.
Nice.
There you go.
Also, Nico Iamaleava, Texas. You got to respect
Well
Nico.
done.
Absolute freak athlete. Like,
you said Texas, you meant Tennessee.
It should be Tennessee. I'm sitting here looking. It says Tennessee, and I'm dumb. Obviously, he has to be respected, and I can't wait to see what he does this season. Everybody's excited about that. And then, down the board a little bit, Aiden Childs went from Oregon State to Michigan State. He'll be starting this year. He was a little bit down the trough. Wasn't one of those true 5-stars, but has really upped his stock. And then lastly, a nice little dark horse that the C2C guys love, Lenore Sellers for South Carolina.
Felix loves
kind
him.
of like the Anthony Richardson kind of look to him and freak athleticism type of a thing. It's like, if somebody's going to ascend, like, you want to bet on an athlete like that. So
yeah,
those are some of my favorites of that 2026 group.
What about the rest of the class as far as running backs, receivers, tight ends? Do we know enough yet about the other positions to say, hey, it looks pretty strong, or it's looking a little thin?
Don't get him started on the Florida kid.
Would you like to know about Trey Wilson? Oh, okay, fine. Trey Wilson is my wide receiver 1. Florida.
Eugene Wilson, as other people might call him.
Eugene Wilson the third, a.k.a. Trey for 3. You know how it goes.
There you go.
But yeah, Eugene Wilson, Trey Wilson, Florida. Zachariah Branch, USC as well. Certainly he's there. He was the number 1 wide receiver recruit out of the class last year, but I've had the opportunity to see him twice. Saw him in the bowl game, saw him at the spring game, a couple weeks ago at USC. And it's manufactured touches and a 4-man wide receiver rotation. Lincoln Riley always rotates those lines. Incredible returner, has all the tools in the shed. Will he be able to succeed downfield is kind of the thing with me. I know he'll do the manufactured touch stuff, but can he run a full tree? I think that's kind of where he's at, and we'll find out this year. Carnell Tate, Ohio State, definitely should be respected, but they got Jeremiah Smith in there now, who's taking a lot of the steam out. Probably get Tate fairly reasonable because of that. Jonte Cook, Texas, he's going to be starting. He's probably going to be, Boyd will probably be moving around the formation. You'll get a lot of X snaps out of Cook, and he's probably going to be the wide receiver 2 behind Boyd. Like, that's going to be a big room. Pay attention to Texas. Kevin Concepcion,
Bond.
NC State.
Bond, right?
Huh?
You said Boyd. You meant Bond, right?
Bond.
Isaiah Bond.
Who did I say Boyd? I was watching
You're good.
Justified. And Boyd, you ever watch Justified? The main character.
No.
Boyd. Okay, fine. Anyways, Isaiah Bond. Word is Bond. And then Concepcion, NC State was a pretty dangerous all-around guy. We'll see how he does for a repeat. And then 2 X's that we haven't got to see too much, but I really like, and I've heard great buzz about. Jury and Dickey, Oregon. Jacoby Lane, USC. On the running back front, Justice Haynes, Alabama is right there. CJ Baxter, Texas. Caleb Jackson, LSU. He's a little bit further down in terms of the initial rankings, but man, he looked incredible when he got a chance to do his thing. I'm a big Roderick Robinson guy from Georgia. He's going to get to be that RB, like 1A, 1B with Trevor Etienne this year. I can't wait to see what Roderick Robinson does. San Diego kid, Lincoln High School. Abu Sama for Iowa State. Iowa State just has a rock-solid program that develops talented guys that go to the NFL who were 3-stars. And Sama was like a borderline, he was like a low 4-star. He was right on the, he has that look of the next NFL back for Iowa State. And then last 2, Ruben Owens, Texas A&M, very excited. Incredible speed, a little small. And then Darius Taylor, Minnesota. Tight ends, Luke Haas, Arkansas is definitely my favorite. Interested to see what Deuce Robinson, who's like a hybrid, Javante Vereen, Andrew Rappel yet. Not a lot to go on with the freshman tight ends yet. Other than
you don't see a lot of those guys usually playing much as true freshmen.
Tough to tell with the 2026 class at this point, but always good to try to pay attention to. Get a list of names to pay attention to early in the year, see who's going to break out or starting to break out.
Always want to have some looks, see what's going on.
Yeah, for sure.
Well, let's move on then. Let's move on to we keep throwing out the term Devy. We keep throwing out the term C2C, college fantasy football, assuming everyone knows, which is probably on our part. We probably should have made sure we specified. I think most people have a general knowledge, but just real quick, break down the differences between Devy, C2C especially. College is pretty easy. It's just college fantasy football. But break down the differences between Devy and C2C. Where can you play? How do you play? What do you prefer? Like, break those down for us real quick.
No, I mean, in terms of what do I prefer, it's very easy. I prefer college fantasy football and C2C because I do like the aspect of getting points and having that ecosystem of college and who's the best there. Who's doing the best in college? It's part of it. I love college football. We all love college football. Why can't we do college fantasy football? And we can on Fantrax. That's where you got to go for that. So I love the fact, I'm hopelessly biased that I just would strongly recommend just diving into C2C as opposed to Devy, because if you go and dive into C2C, nothing's going to scare you. Nothing.
That's fair.
Doesn't matter. You got the creepy crawlies coming out of the bed. It's afraid of the dark. Nothing will scare you once you do C2C. Find yourself to be a completely reformed human. So
explain what C2C is.
Okay, it's campus to canon. And what it does essentially is, instead of Devy, which you're taking essentially a taxi squad of college players. And you say 1, 2, 5, 10 round Devy depleted draft, and you just go through, and just one after the other you go through and pick them. And they just sit on your team as college players, and then when they go to the NFL, they go right on your team. But you don't get any points or anything for what they do in college. Correct. They just sort of sit there dormant. And I don't want my college players to be dormant. Get rusty, I don't want them to be employed. I want them to get action. So C2C is like the next, it's the bridge between college fantasy football and the NFL. And it's incredible because not only are you essentially, you draft a 45 player roster, that's generally what it is, 40, 45. And from that team, you're playing a full season of college fantasy football. And it's the same principle as Devy, with C2C, you have an NFL league and you have a college league. And they get paid out, well, I believe they should be paid out equally, but, everyone's got their proclivities, so paid out equally, they both play seasons, and then once that season ends, the players on your C2C team that go to the NFL, it's the same as Devy. They just go right to your NFL roster. So you're profiting from that advanced scouting. And it goes back to, what I had said earlier in the broadcast, which is just simply, you want to find out edges. You want edges. You want to find something nobody doesn't know. You want to profit from it. You want to exploit that edge. And the edges that you get in college are not available in the NFL in a dynasty sense, especially when you're in a dynasty league that drafts after the NFL draft. You have no advantage there. The NFL has spoken. You've seen the draft capital. Where are you getting advantages? And we know in the NFL, from the most well-trodden ecosystem, when it comes in the fantasy world, everybody in the world has an opinion on fantasy football. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
Right? There's no edges in the NFL. It's why I hate NFL fantasy. Sorry, guys. Sorry. I hate it. I hate it. I do it because I love C2C and because my guys go up there and I like seeing my guys do well. But, the NFL draft is a graduation. They're done. They're on my team and they're there and great. You guys want to do single season leagues? I don't do single season leagues. I don't care. So, you're not getting the edges in the NFL. There aren't edges to play. You get dozens of edges every year. Edges everywhere in college if you put in the time. And I guarantee you, if you put in the time, you're going to find those edges. Look at our friend Jared Wackerly. Luther Burden and Tedoroa McMillan. You ought to be ashamed of yourself. How can you live? You can face your league mates with that stack?
I mean, I could keep going on that team.
I know.
So
I know,
C2 better watch out.
They're in trouble.
That's I did win the national championship.
But you can't do that in Dynasty. It doesn't exist. And if you are, it's because you gave up an asset that has a lot of value to get an extra first-round pick to be able to stack that. You can't do it. So that's the beauty. That is the difference, is you get to make these calls early, and you get to profit from them, and you get to build juggernauts out of that in a way that you just can't do in Dynasty. In my opinion, the edges, and that's what I love. I love finding edges. Carson Beck's a great example. You make a commitment, you take somebody, you sink or swim, and when you profit, it feels great.
Eric, I know you've been playing CFF for, I don't know, over 20 years, right? I've listened to some of your content. I think you've said
time immemorial, I would say.
Yeah.
I'd say
so,
literally on the first cusp. I consider myself to be a true OG, and I've never seen anybody, try to challenge that. I'm here anytime you want. You know where to find me if I'm not an OG of college fantasy football. You've been doing it longer than 2 decades. You got me beat.
I mean, I think college fantasy football in C2C is only going to continue to get more popular and just more popular, like as we continue to go with the changes that are happening to college football. Like, what are your thoughts as far as where college football is headed and the popularity of C2C and college fantasy football? Like how it's going to benefit from that in terms of the conference realignments, NIL, transfer portal,
and even the new NCAA game coming out. Yep, that's huge.
Oh, yeah, that's huge. That's
what are your thoughts on all of it?
Touchstone cultural moment for college football in general. Like, I can't tell you how excited I am about it. It wouldn't do it justice, but I am. It's going to change things. I sincerely believe it. I think it's.
I'm using PTO that week.
I agree with you.
It's going to change the perception of college football.
Just the fact that we can own these cards that we were talking about.
That's a Roma Dunze, graded. That's a 1 of 99.
Out of 99. Yep.
1 of 99 green auto. Yeah, I know what that is. You don't need to tell me what that is. You didn't have to show me. I saw the top of the card. I knew it was a Dunze. Anyways.
Yep. No auto. But yes.
No auto? Shame on you.
I know.
Shame. That being said, with this happening, one, it creates more opportunity with the new 12-team college football playoff. With 4 teams or 2 teams, like 95% of the teams are out. I mean, they're out as soon as the season starts. Hey, you got the group of 6. I was going to say group of 5. Got myself. Actually, it's still group of 5. We just eliminated a conference. You still got group of 5 teams that are going to be able to get in, and they're going to be in. There'll be one a year, right? You're going to have, even though it's moving towards the super conference model, which is, guess what? It's happening. We will be having super conferences.
I mean, I think it's going to produce a better product.
Yeah, it's how things are destined to go. Like the NCAA is going to tell these teams what to do, has no teeth, has no authority, completely functionally irrelevant, and Charlie Baker can screw himself for what he's trying to do, the president of the NCAA, restricting our freedoms for DFS, for college football prop betting, for NBA, college basketball prop betting. The NCAA is getting their asses kicked in court every single time they go. Kicked. They're right now, before the season starts, we're going to have a revenue sharing deal in place for every team. Because the disgrace of them using, unpaid labor to go and enrich the university, it's over. And damn good it should be. These kids should be paid. Now we're going to have revenue sharing. So everything that's coming is doing it for the sport to become more marketable. And of all the sports, like what is the professional league that is dynamic, that has a regular season that you just can't miss? Other than the NFL. NFL, consequential. Like the NBA, they did that weird in-season tournament for money because nobody cares about watching regular season games. NHL is unless you're in a cold weather, you don't even know it exists. And then MLB has 162 games. I mean, come on. Nobody cares about any NMLB game. It's done. It's functionally done. So this is where it matters. The games matter. Every game matters for this, and you have more opportunity for the 12 teams. And there's even talk, which would be the greatest thing that would happen of the past 10 years, 20 years in all of sports, would be the threat of college football relegation, which is on the table apparently 82 teams would be in the top level. There's 134 right now in FBS. It'd be 82 or something like that, 80 teams. And then there would be a bottom like 20 that rotate up and down each season based on performance metrics, like European soccer.
Yeah.
Give it to me. In the veins, give it to me. And if that happens, right, then you actually have things to talk about on the bottom. It's a whole life cycle then. Watch out. It becomes EPL, and it becomes almost, it'll never be NFL, but it'll be more interesting. There'll be more things to talk about, and that's what will bring it to the forefront in addition to the game, because video gaming is just everywhere. It's
I would be surprised if they move the season up a little bit too.
Why not?
So they're not competing with the NFL as much. No, I'm 100% with you. And I mean, just the transfer portal itself has, I think, and it's going to continue to create more disparity across the NCAA. I mean, like the teams are able to fill holes on their roster with, MAC players or Conference USA players or whoever, instead of having to rely on the recruits that they brought in. So they're able to fill these holes, and it's a lot more competitive than it's ever going to be, especially at the expansion of the playoffs too. So that was always a thing that I've heard from people is like, well, there's only Ohio State really only plays 3 good opponents the whole year. Well, not anymore. Like, it's going to be a lot more competitive going forward, and I can't wait to see what happens and where we're at in like 5 years. I just think the college game is going to it's going to take off.
It's going to take off. It went from being regional, and I love the regional aspect of it. I mean, I love college football, but look, you can't stop progress. This is just how it was going to be. It was always going to be. This is an entertainment thing. This is about dollars. And who actually watches episodic television shows with commercials anymore? Is there such thing? Does anybody do it? Like, nobody, right? Like, literally nobody sits there and says, oh, Big Bang Theory's on tonight. Got to watch that and watch all those commercials. Got to catch it live. Nobody catches anything live. That's why sports is so important. It's the only thing anybody watches live anymore. So,
it's true.
It's in everybody's best interest for the sport to grow and flourish. Everybody wants that to happen, and that's what the steps have been taken for it. So, fingers crossed.
All right, do we want to get to some questions here?
Yeah, let's do some Q&A, and then we'll wrap it up.
All right, yeah, let's grab a couple of these real quick. Here's one of the ones I kind of liked. Pistol Pete 26 says, for Devy Leagues, how do you value a lesser player in the next upcoming NFL draft, say running back 4, wide receiver 5, something like that, versus the RB1 or the wide receiver 1 or 2, but that player's 2 or 3 years out from the NFL draft, say Emeka Ibuka versus Jeremiah Smith, for example? Do you value the better player or prospect or the guy that will be taken in the draft sooner? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah.
So this is like one of the great conundrums of Devy C2C, sort of a league is, the sky high upside or the relative safety of having seen somebody on a collegiate field produce. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I tend to, it depends also in startup drafts, right? So startup drafts, that's really that's the Wild West. It's wide open. I tend to, in a C2C format, favor the more recent, the players that will be graduating quicker, this class and then working backwards, because I have a lot of priors with them. I have a lot of tape. I have a lot of projection. I've seen them against college level talent, and I've seen them produce, and that's really, it comes down to, it isn't so much, if we're going 3 classes, because that's kind of how you have to look at it, right? So if we're looking at those 3 classes, it isn't so much, do I like this one more than the one behind them or the freshman? It's more like the top 2 classes, which we've seen play, and then the freshmen. That's how I look at it, right?
Okay.
So I will prioritize those first 2 classes that are I've seen play. I've seen them on the college field. I've seen them against other college players. Like it's incredibly valuable, and that's especially important for quarterbacks because of just the volatile nature of how they come up and the how they grow and how they mature. Like, it's not a straight line a lot of times with QBs. It's
would you
it's
say
a journey?
would you say that, because we have the NFL draft, which we know that there's still plenty of busts that happen. What would you say the frequency of 5-star busts to first round busts going into the NFL? Like more frequent, less frequent, pretty similar?
Oh yeah, of course. I mean, if we're talking, I guess in terms of your question, is it do 5-stars bust more or do first rounders bust more, sort of a thing?
Right. Yeah. Like how confident should we be when we're drafting, a 5-star? Let's say there's 3 5-star quarterbacks in this class, and there's 3 5-stars in the NFL draft that are going in the first round. Like, is it more likely that these kids that are high school coming into college are going to bust, or is it more likely that the kids in the college going to the NFL are going to bust? Both I know happen, but what happens more often?
Oh, definitely the 5-stars. I mean, first rounders, they've gone through the entire collegiate career, and now they've gone through the process, they've gone through all that. 5-star, you just kind of going off some opinions off of kids, that are 17, so it can be subjective, and there's different versions of the 5-stars. Is it on 3? Is it rivals? Is it 247? So it's like there's so much opinion based there. With the first rounder, it's like, here's the draft capital. Oh, well, this professional team wants them.
Was that your question, Garrett? Like, are you asking him what busts more in terms of like guys that already got drafted as first round picks, or freshmen coming in as 5-stars?
Yes, yeah, more freshmen coming in as 5-stars. So like, let's say this guy is one of
same answer.
That's what I figured. I figured it was probably more so the college guys. They don't have a good freshman year. They do okay as a sophomore. Like they just never develop into anything like you would expect a 5-star to. Happens at the NFL level. But I assumed, so was always my issue with drafting some of the younger guys. Is just the bust potential of these freshmen. How many times I get a guy that's a 5-star guy or a high 4-star guy, and I'm like, oh man, everyone's really high on this kid. And then you realize he gets the college football landscape, and he's not even good enough to start on his own team. Like that almost never happens in the NFL. If it's a first rounder, they at least get a chance to start. Like some of these guys never even see the field.
Correct. Exactly. It's so volatile, and there's so many things can go wrong, and you don't have them on campus for 4 or 5 years, and you can ask coaches about like, all right, you've been with this kid for 4 years. What do you think? Like there's so much conjecture, and they're so young. So I would say, I and that really goes into why I kind of like having seen him in college before. I prefer, if I'm doing a startup draft, which I will be, I prefer the 2025, 2026. 2027, I'll have my favorites. Like I'll have guys that I'll definitely be targeting that I've seen with my own eyes. Like Jeremiah Smith, I've seen with my own eyes go and completely tear up fellow seniors, and I mean he was a man among boys at the Elite 11 final, where the best of the best are there.
Sure.
Nobody could touch him. He was outrageous. So yeah, like you got those guys. You got the Trevor Lawrence, the Caleb Williams when he comes in. After his first initial Oklahoma spring game, it's just like, oh my God, blew Spencer Rattler off the field, and it's like it was coming.
I would say, there's another question here that kind of goes along with this. It's from Allstate 85, and he asked, how do you consider players with exceptional high school prospect status? He's not in any Devy or C2C league, so he doesn't know how success in high school correlates to success in college or the NFL. And, like, I'll just give my opinion, and then, Eric, you can either agree or disagree. I would say if you're going to invest in freshmen in any Devy draft, like, especially in Devy versus C2C, where it's a little deeper. But in Devy, like, you want to invest in the 5-star guys because historically, the rate at which 5-star players are drafted early in the NFL draft is much higher than guys who are not 5-stars. Like, that's just how it goes. What are your thoughts on that, Eric?
Oh yeah, certainly. Gosh, if you have the chance of a 3-star or a 5-star, you definitely want a 5-star.
Right. It's self-explanatory. So
if anything, it's like I guess I would look at the teams too. Like especially where you're looking for value, and the Abu Sama comp is pretty good in that front, where it's like some teams do better, some coaches do better at developing players than others.
Ohio State wide receivers. Yeah. Jeremiah Smith, freak.
Brian Hartline, he's the wide receiver coach. He goes and he is just cranking them out. And again, there's Penn State with tight ends, and there's Georgia with everyone. There's Alabama with wide receivers, and it's like, what you want to be in some places. So I like to target productive developmental systems and coaches too. If I'm there, and especially this is even more so in C2C with Devy, you're going to have a much shorter roster. You have 5 guys. It's like, all right, well, 5 guys from all of college you can throw in. You can pick good dudes. You'll be fine. It's when Campus to Canton comes in, you got 40. To where it's like, all right, well, I've got a pretty good solid starting roster. We're now down the back end, the back half of the draft. Where are you shooting? Where are you taking your shots on the freshmen? I take shots in rooms that I know have been productive historically with coaching staffs that have proven to develop that position group. And I think that's where you can make money and make profit off of that sort of stuff where, yeah, is a guy a 5-star? No. Is he a low 4-star? Maybe, but he's in a good developmental place. And that's how you kind of make up for some of that.
You cheat, though. You get to go to watch practice, not like everybody else. You
cheating,
get to go see
But you
it.
can just listen to me and I'll tell you.
Hey, that's true.
Yeah, there you go.
Just kidding.
Jared, how many
we got
more
any
of these
questions?
Yeah, let's do one more.
You pick one more.
All right, let's do one more. This I think is a good one that is going to tie into a lot of our guys, even if they're not doing a ton of Devy or C2C stuff yet. Bad Birdie Bob says, how much of a factor are projected strengths and weaknesses of future draft classes versus current class? For example, do you prioritize quarterbacks in your rookie draft this year because the 25 class looks a little weak? Or do you even punt wide receivers this year because next year's class is looking significantly better?
Punt running backs this year.
Oh,
I would say,
sorry,
yeah, sure. I think there's definitely a projection element to some of this stuff. You look at your roster, of course, and see like, all right, where am I aging out in my NFL roster here? Like, for instance, one of my C2C teams, my first one I drafted 3 years ago. We're in draft 4 now. I've got an old running back room. I've got some long-in-the-tooth gentlemen. I've got the Derrick Henrys and of the world. I've got James Conner, and it's like, these guys aren't long for this world. So I want to know. You'll want to certainly project out and be like, all right, I got a couple years here, but you want to have an exit strategy without a doubt. So I will certainly look at the strength of prospective classes. And we did get into that a little bit about this class with the quarterbacks. It's really good. And then 2025, you got Carson Beck, and then question marks. And then 2026, you have the god of all, prospect quarterbacks, Arch Manning coming in. And a few other guys I really like. So, like, you want to gauge the relative strength, the perceived strength of each class for each position. But I think with QB, you want to account for the fact that they will be late risers. There'll be somebody who, might not be at that top tier, and they end up in the top tier because they make the leap that last season. And that's exactly what Jaden Daniels did. J.J. McCarthy was, I don't know, maybe is he a first-round pick? Yeah. And then, nobody thought Bo Nix was anything at Auburn. He was the butt of every joke, and he goes to Oregon and runs the system. Well, he does a great job of it,
Yeah.
And here he is at Denver at number 12 overall, and he's ready to check down. So, that's – you got to make sure that, yeah, you can project out but be flexible and understand that there will be guys who will emerge from the preseason. And the key, in my opinion, to being good at Devy, to be good at C2C, is who are the ones that you find out that no one else did? Who are the ones that you profited off of, that you are taking that value and it's yours, and really shortening the draft for you, because you're going into a Devy depleted draft with, like, house money. Like,
that's why I got
my Carson Beck I'm walking in with. Okay, no problem on QBs. And you're pounding skill. So that's the other element of Devy, is like having that cornerstone already in place for when you're going into your draft and knowing, okay, well, I don't need this.
Right.
I'm on this now. So projection is always important in Dynasty with your rosters. and having good theory and approaching it the right way. Yeah, definitely.
I think in the context of that question too, it's like it depends on where it's coming from, because in Devy and C2C leagues, you are able to move around a much more, like there's names to picks. Like there's not, like you can go and trade for Arch Manning if you want. You can go and trade for Ashton Genty if you have Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon and stuff on your roster. Like you can start prepping your pipeline much easier than just trading for the back end first, if that guy is competing that you're trading with or something like that. But if you're if Bad Birdie Bob is specifically asking that just from like a dynasty standpoint, like I'm always going to go best player available, no matter if, I feel like the quarterback class next year is going to be a little better. I'm not going to punt taking, not necessarily Jaden Daniels or Caleb Williams. So I'm not going to punt taking J.J. McCarthy this year, so I can hopefully pick Shedeur Sanders next year, or Carson Beck, like Eric was saying, next year. Like I'm going to take them now, or I'm going to take the top wide receiver, top running back now. I'm not going to punt running back this year because running backs are better next year, because it's so fluid year to year inside your dynasty league. You don't know what teams are going to get injured. You don't know what trades are going to become available for you so that you can maybe make a run. So I'm always just trying to position my team as best as possible to give myself the best chance year in, year out, depending upon my strategy at the time.
Absolutely.
Garrett, I feel like you probably fell into that same strategy.
Oh yeah, 100%. 100%. I'm absolutely with you. I'm
Special
big,
announcement time. Don't forget.
Yeah, I won't forget. I'm big best player available. Like I'll have teams where, I have 4 quarterbacks and the best player on the board is Drake May. Well, I guess I got a 5th quarterback. like I'm
you can
very,
pass
very,
on him.
Yep, I'm very big on that type of thing there. So, all right, let's get into our special announcement. Last year when we did a kind of look forward at the future classes, we said, hey, we're going to do a Devy League. And this will be, a nice little introduction for people that have never played in a Devy League before to just wet their whistle a little bit. Give them an opportunity. Go ahead, Jared.
I have a slight change to this, but I'm going to put you on the spot. See what
on
you
the
think.
fly. Okay. All right.
Should we do a C2C Talkin Dynasty League?
Oh.
Instead of just
I will
Devy.
agree
We did
to that.
just Devy last year.
I will agree to that under one condition.
I
Under
will
one
commission
condition.
it, not you.
Oh yeah, all right. Two conditions then. Yes, you commission it.
Okay.
Because I have no desire to do that. But 2, as long as the college side can be best ball, maybe both. I'm fine with both sides being best ball, but specifically the college side being best ball. As long as we can
Eric,
do that,
what are your thoughts on that?
then I'm good.
I do have thoughts on best ball with college. I do a best ball. I do a series of it's the Champions League Best Ball League. 12 drafts with the same 12 guys picking from each. Everyone picks from a different spot. The one out of every 12 spots. Mm-hmm. And we do them once every 2 weeks from March heading up to the beginning of the season. So we do all that. And so I am very familiar with the best ball format. I did a Dynasty best ball last year. And it was the worst thing I've ever done. I hated it so much. I'll never do one ever again. And the reason why is it's impossible to know if you're winning or losing every Saturday and you're going and checking the scores. You don't know. And I need to know if I'm winning or losing because I want to know. So, like, you have so many guys playing because there's 40, 45 guys on your roster.
Yeah.
So many guys that are there every week that it's like,
Maybe
I
we
don't know
can
who I'm
talk
playing.
about it.
I don't know if I'm winning or not. I don't know if I'm losing or not. And it's just confusion. I like watching the live scoring and I can't watch it during best ball scoring because
I can understand that. The C2C aspect of it for me is always tough with the setting of the lineups because you don't get that information always until sometimes it's the very last minute. Oh,
correct. However, there is a button on Fantrax that
the
we made
reserve
sure was in, which is the auto sub feature. And
the
that's
auto
been there
sub
for a couple
feature is
years.
huge.
No.
I still
It's not
sometimes
just
will
huge.
forget to use that damn thing.
You have to have it. You can't do a league without the auto sub feature. And the reason why is NFLers, you have what's called an injury report. an
Yeah.
injury report. And that is every team has to put their injuries on there. If somebody doesn't play, there's an injury report, they get fined. You know what happens in college? Teams are incentivized. Coaches find pleasure in lying to you about whether or not guys will be playing. It happens
It's the worst.
every single week. It'll never change. It's always going to be that way. So you will get screwed. Somebody will DNP with no announcement several times a year. You have to have the auto sub feature. And
So Garrett, maybe we can
we'll be fine.
discuss that. We'll do a C2C league to be determined whether it's going to be best ball or not. But there will be a Google form link in the show notes. So what you need to do is you need to be a Dynasty Nerds Nerd Herd subscriber.
Yep.
You need to leave a review for the Dynasty Nerds podcast and fill out the Google form just so I can check everything, and then we'll throw everybody's names in a hat, and you will be in a
Shake
league
'em up.
with Garrett, myself, and Eric. And we'll play some C2C, dude. I'm excited.
I'm
All
fired
right,
up. I
sounds
love
good. Let's do
C2C.
it.
I love doing this. I got to do a startup, at least one every year. You know what I mean? I have to do one. So here we go.
Here we
Here's
go.
my C2C startup. I'm ready. I'm fired up. Let's go.
Let's do it.
boys.
All right. Well, that wraps up our show. Eric, thank you so much, man, for coming on. I know this is a long form conversation, but we appreciate all your insight on these players, these classes, what's going on. Please, at this point, plug anything that you would like to plug. Tell people where they can find you. All of that good stuff.
Sure. Lead college football analyst for NBC Sports. I will be writing plenty of college fantasy football content over the course of this summer. I also work and do a podcast for Fantasy Points. It's called the CFF All Access Podcast, which I do with a few of my co-hosts who are all very, very knowledgeable CFF guys. So we go, soup to nuts, very, very deep into that landscape. And you can also remember, if you want to play fantasy football, college fantasy football, Fantrax is the only platform that has it. Go to Fantrax, check out the CFF site, check out campustocanton.com. They're always starting up college leagues, Campus to Canton leagues. They're always doing it. Hit those Discords, and you will be able to find yourself a league. But just remember, we only got one game in town, and it's at Fantrax. We appreciate them. If it weren't for them, we would have no C2C or college fantasy football. So thank you to our Canadian friends up there.
Eventually, if you are a Dynasty Nerd subscriber and use the Dynasty GM and sync your leagues and everything, like we've talked to Fantrax, we have their API information. Like it is on like the road to for us to our roadmap. Yeah, I couldn't think of the damn word. On the roadmap to integrate all of this within the GM tool. It's just
my gosh, are you serious?
it's taken some time.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Well, dude, of course it's taking some time.
It's
that's a lift.
Yeah.
But an impressive one. Ooh, I'm excited.
It's on the roadmap. I can't put any date on it yet, but
don't pull Rich Dotson.
I'm not. Don't worry.
Guys, that's awesome. I'm excited to check out that tool whenever it gets here. And good for you guys for putting that out. Great work, Dynasty Nerds.
Appreciate you coming on the show, Eric. Seriously.
Thank you, guys. Excited about the league, and thanks for having me on. Had a great time.
Awesome. Well, for myself, for Eric, for Jared, we appreciate you guys tuning in, listening to this episode of Talkin' Dynasty. I almost said Talkin' Devy because we've been doing that so much today. But it is still Talkin' Dynasty. We appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll see you next time.